Alrighty, on this video, I'm going to show you some more examples on how to factor a trinomial like this by grouping and by using the method that we call slide, divide, bottoms up. After you see both methods, you can choose which one you like and just use one method, but we want to show you both of them. Okay, so to factor by grouping, you start by taking the front number times the back number. So in this case, it's negative 70. And then I make the x like we did on the puzzles the other day. The bottom number here goes in there. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 70 and add to 3. So that's going to be a negative 7 and a positive 10. Because 10 minus 7 is 3, and 10 times negative 7 is negative 70. Okay, then this is where it's a little bit different. You're going to take this 3x and you're going to replace it with negative 7x and 10x. So the 7x squared is going to stay the same, and then you're going to have minus 7x plus 10x, and then the minus 10 stays the same. So the 7x squared comes down, the negative 10 comes down, but the 3x changes to whatever these two numbers are. Then we're going to do something new called factor by grouping. So you look at these two numbers and you factor it just the same as we've been factoring it, except with the addition that you're also going to be pulling out an x. There will always be an x squared here and an x there. So in this case, 7 is what the number is that they have in common, so you're going to factor out a 7x. In class, we've just been pulling out a 7 because we haven't had letters in common, but you'll always have a letter in common on this worksheet or when you're factoring this way. So pull out a 7x, that leaves you with 1x minus 1. 7x times 1x is 7x squared. 7x times negative 1 is negative 7x. Then we need to factor something out of here. Well, 10 is what they have in common, so plus 10, and then you have an x. 10 times x is 10x, and then you need to bring down your minus and put a 1. So if you were to distribute this out, you'd get 10x minus 10, which is exactly what we have there. Okay? Now, you take this parentheses and this parentheses, which should be the same, and they are. 1x is the same as x. So this parentheses is the same as this one. So I'm going to write it there. And then the first parentheses comes from the outside number here and the outside number there. So this is 7x plus 10. And that's your answer. If you were to multiply that out then, like we've been doing the last few days, 7x times x would give you 7x squared. 7x times negative 1 is negative 7x. 10 times x is 10x. 10 times negative 1 is negative 10. And if you combine that together, you'd get 3x, which is what we started with, 7x squared plus 3x minus 10. So this should look familiar because when we first learned how to multiply this together, that's how I made you write it out. I had made you write 7x times x minus 1 plus 10 times x minus 1. So hopefully you see that you're just doing the reverse of what we did a few days ago. Now, another method is called slide, divide, bottoms up. It's similar in some ways, but it's just a different process, okay? So you start with the same problem, 7x squared plus 3x minus 10. And so you start by sliding. We're going to slide the 7 over to the negative 10 and get negative 70. But we're going to rewrite the problem without the 7 there. So this becomes x squared plus 3x minus 70. So that's why it's called slide. You take the 7 and you slide it over and you put it with the 10, and then you rewrite the problem. So now this factors, just like when we're factoring the other day when we didn't have a number in front of the x squared, we'd put negative 70 at the top and 3 at the bottom. And then this factors in, or the numbers you need are negative 7 and 10. But because there's no number on the x there, you just write x minus 7 and x plus 10. Okay? So if you were, after you slide, you kind of forget that that was part of the problem. And then you just factor this like you normally would. Then you divide. We've done the slide and factor, now we divide. The number we divide by is the number that we slid. Like we multiplied this by 7. So we divide our numbers by 7. If they divide out and give you an integer, you just write that. So 7 divided by 7 is 1, so that becomes x minus 1. If it doesn't give you an integer, 10 divided by 7 is not an integer, so you're going to do the bottoms up part. The bottom thing goes up to the top, and it becomes 7x plus 10. So your answer is x minus 1 times 7x plus 10. Okay? So let's do another one. Actually, I'm going to do 2 like this, and then I'll do 2 like this so you can kind of see the repetition, all right? And if you prefer one way or the other, you can skip the video. I'm going to do 2 in a row with factor by grouping, and then 2 in a row with slide divide. Okay, so 9 times 9 is 81. So 81 goes at the top, negative 82 goes at the bottom. Negative 1 and negative 81 would be the numbers that I would use. Then I'm going to replace that. So 9x squared minus 1x minus 81x plus 9. So those two numbers go there. Then I do factor by grouping. I can only pull out an x, so that gives me 9x minus 1. I can pull out a 9, so that gives me minus 9. And then I would have 9x minus 1. My parentheses are the same, so 9x minus 1 is my second parentheses, and then x minus 9 is my other one. So that's my answer. Okay? If I do this method with this one, 2 times negative 15 is negative 30. My negative 1 goes there, so I need a negative 6 and a positive 5. I replace that, so I have 2m squared minus 6m plus 5m minus 15. Factor by grouping, I can pull out a 2m. That leaves m minus 3. I can pull out a 5. That leaves m minus 3. So my front parentheses is 2m plus 5 because it comes from the front numbers. And then m minus 3 is my second parentheses. Okay, doing the same one with slide divide. I've got 9x squared minus 82x plus 9. So I slide the 9 over and it becomes 81. So I have x squared minus 82x plus 81. So I have an 81 on top, negative 82 on the bottom, negative 1, negative 81. So then this factors into x minus 81 and x minus 1. I slid the 9 over, so I've got to divide by 9. This divides into 9, so that gives me x minus 9. This does not divide, so I do bottoms up, and I get 9x minus 9. So that's my answer for that one. Okay, if I do 2m squared minus m minus 15, then I slide the 2 over, and I get negative 30. So m squared minus m minus 30. So I have a negative 30 on top, and I have a negative 1 on the bottom. So negative 6, positive 5. So m plus 5 times m minus 6. I just take those numbers and put them in my parentheses. Then I got to divide by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2. That doesn't divide, so I do bottoms up. So that becomes 2m plus 5. That does divide, it becomes 3. So I have m minus 3. Okay? Hopefully that helps, and hopefully you're starting to see one that you prefer over the other.